Every day I wake up, I only think about ads. Q4 checklist, whatever, people are giving away stuff. When I was like 18, I watched Ty Lopez social media agency course or whatever. So you test it out on Facebook, and if you see traction and it's working and you're profitable on Facebook, only then you can actually start investing into the product. And if it does start working, then you can introduce Google.
Hi everybody, welcome back. Welcome back to episode 3. Alongside with me today we have Marius and Deividas, and welcome to Brand Boosters. Today we have a special guest, Deividas, who is a pro media buyer and a e-commerce guru probably as well. But he can tell a little bit about himself. So Deividas, hey.
Hey.
Great to have you here. And so tell us a little bit about yourself and what's your superpowers.
Hey guys, so my name is Deividas. Thanks for a nice introduction. Thanks for having me. So for the past 4 years I have been working as a media buyer. In total I have managed 25 million in ad spend. I've worked with mainly Facebook channel, TikTok, Snapchat, any other acquisition tool you could name. I worked as a media buyer hands-on in agencies with digital products, so we have like best of both worlds, both digital info products and both e-commerce physical products. And currently I just help brands or advertisers to essentially scale their acquisition, direct-to-consumer acquisition through paid ads.
Great. So there's been a lot of terminology that I guess if you're not a newbie in e-commerce, but I'm pretty sure that some people who tune in are not so experienced. But media buyer, there was one terminology. Then the other one was acquisition, customer acquisition support and stuff like that. Can you break down so a little bit like maybe almost like dumb it down? What does it actually mean? Like what how does your day-to-day look like? What's the so that people can actually understand and imagine what is it to do your job and be in your shoes?
Yeah, so let's do media buying for dummies. So the way I describe media buying is like media buying has been for a long time. Like media buying is just buying media placements somewhere. So it doesn't necessarily have to be on Facebook. Like media buying has been existent for 70, like 100 years, as long as people were selling products. Because media buying, as I mentioned, you just buy a placement for your ad. So you can buy a billboard. That's also media buying. So now I think mostly people refer to media buying as like digital in the digital space, because mostly people buy media there. So that's about it. So I come every day, I wake up, I only think about ads. So I wake up, my goal is to obviously in the first place like to analyze how the previous day was performing, just to look at the general data and kind of make assumptions and conclusions out of the data, and then launch new campaigns, launch iterations, or launch new creatives on the ads platform. So then there's like technical work that we're gonna probably get dive deep into later. So that's where I come in and I launch campaigns with my expertise. I advise people or advertisers or brands like what type of creative should you launch, what strategies you should pick. But essentially media buying is just only the part of it. Like offers, websites, funnels, other channels are like just as important.
So I think when most of the people, if you're actually not so experienced in e-commerce, one part of the challenge for people is how to build an e-commerce site, how to build a brand, and the next challenge that comes in is how to actually drive traffic to it and how to get sales. So what Deividas actually does, it's pretty much that it. So a media buyer in terminology or profession is a performance marketer, even you can say, is to acquire traffic through different media platforms and then turn them into paying customers, right? Yeah. And then obviously you fine-tune the acquisitions and you test different things.
So David, that's a very interesting story you have, I know. So can you tell it shortly, like how it started for you? How did you start working as a media buyer? I know you worked for quite a few serious agencies, and now you moved on to to work on your own. So, what's about this?
So the way I started my work is I was in the first year of my university essentially. and I was looking for work. Like essentially, I was ready to do any type of work, and I remember got into like an unpaid internship at like a local Lithuanian company. It was like a middle-sized company, and I was eager to go into like social media marketing. And I remember like when I was like 18, I watched Ty Lopez social media agency course or whatever, and I was like, yeah, that is the new thing, because social media was the cool thing back then. That was like
with Lambos and Bugattis.
Yeah, I was fascinated, and then in the first year of my university, I got into like unpaid internship, which was like essentially like traditional media. They were printing stuff for retail, So I was okay. So that's something, I thought that it's not something I want to do. And then my friend came up to me, and he's like, he was working in an agency, and he's like, come and work with me for free. And I was like, okay, sure, let's do it. And I was doing 2 unpaid internships at the same time, in the summer. And I was like hustling like 14, 12 hours a day, but I was like, I'm gonna do it. And I remember like my first campaign I had to launch on Facebook, it took me like 6 or 4 hours because I was checking every little detail. And that's how, I kickstarted. I worked in the agency. After that, they kept me. I still like have awesome relationship with the founder. He's a good guy. And then after that, I worked in another agency, and then finally got into Atkins agency, where I would say, my serious media buying career started. And I started working as a junior media buyer. And then in like 6 months or so, I got a role to be a senior media buyer. I got a lot of trust, so I have to appreciate, Darius, who trusted me in the Atkins agency, and then I moved to another company. I wanted to try digital products. I wanted to work in-house. We scaled some digital products there, and then I finally left 4 months ago or so. I felt that my mission has evolved. I wanted to move on. I wanted to do something different, and it was like a natural step for me to try something for myself. And as I mentioned, we talked before that starting a podcast, that I launched my own funnel, which is like the 3rd funnel I launched, and it's quite successful. So I'm quite happy about that. And it's a different level of fulfillment for me. I also started doing content on LinkedIn, which is also very fulfilling.
Okay, that's a very impressive journey, from not knowing anything about paid advertising and to working in serious agencies like Atkins, and also now doing your own digital products. Could you tell me, okay, I understand that while working at for Atkins, for instance, it was really a good job. You probably got a very good salary there, but how do you compare it? Let's say working for a company, and now when you're doing everything on your own, by yourself.
So I mean, when you're working for an agency, for instance, the thing is that the clients come in, and usually what happens is, there's a churn rate for clients. There's around, let's say, 6 to 3 months, on average. So if you're a media buyer, you have a client, you grow it, you scale it from, you double the scale, the revenue, and then he leaves, because eventually it doesn't make sense for him to hire the agency. They just hire a media buyer in-house, unless you sign an equity deal in which you invest in the business, you get a percentage of of stocks. Maybe then it makes sense for the client to stay and to kind of build a relationship. But then the agency has to do a full stack. You cannot just do media buying. So that's what happened. I had a lot of clients. We had a lot of successful clients, but it was just, they come and they go, and I wanted something to sustainable. And I thought that, working as a media buyer in an in-house brand will give me that sustainability. And it kind of did, but it was a little bit of a different beast. So now compared to, if I compare, let's say, the work that I had and I do now, for instance, now I work less and I earn more. Because whenever you're it's all about productizing your services. It's I know the value I can provide, and when you're learning, well, I was learning in the past 4 years, you kind of have to compromise. You get knowledge, you get a little bit of a lesser salary, but obviously I was paid pretty well. But then at some point, the fulfillment part kicks in. It's you get your pay, but you want more, and then you're not really fulfilled. And that's when you just want, money doesn't really matter as much. You just want the fulfillment. So So that's how I moved, and I guess that's probably the most different part here.
Okay, that's interesting. So maybe now we heard your story. Maybe let's move on a little bit to like media buying and advertising and how things going. So tell me, it's Q4, Black Friday is coming up. How it's been like? How's Q4 for you for now?
Yeah, for me, I was thinking what I'm gonna answer, for this question here, and to be honest, like I'm not that excited for Q4 as like most people are. Like I see a lot of rave in social media. It's Q4 checklist, whatever. People are giving away stuff. For me, like I've been through like 4 Black Fridays. Obviously, like there are people that've been more. I've seen more Black Fridays, but for me, it's like in the first 2 years, it was like extreme hype. I remember like in Atkins agency, we would have a call during Black Friday and we would like stay up all night because it was like every time you refresh the ad account, like revenue goes up and you're like, damn, like dopamine hits, through the roof. But in the last 2 or 3 Black Fridays were kind of a disappointment for me because of obviously the economy shifted a little bit. A lot of people and competition started using the same strategies. Like it's very hard to be innovative at this point. So I'm not really that excited. I'm always realistic, and I don't think this Black Friday is going to be as good as people expect. But essentially, for digital products, Black Friday is not as important. But I have 2 e-commerce clients, so we're preparing, doing the standard preparation. So we'll see about that.
Okay, interesting. How many clients you have in total now?
Currently, I have like 3 ad account, 3 businesses.
So in terms of performance marketing, which platform is working best for you now?
Yeah, so I'd say Facebook, hands down. I mean, it's not even debatable. Facebook has been the platform and still is the platform, and I don't see TikTok, changing it anytime soon. Like, I mean, you can just like look at the active amount of like active users on Facebook. It's like 3 billion or something. So so it's hands down like that.
But many say that Facebook is for elder generation, like millennials maybe, and Gen Z is only on TikTok and maybe Snapchat, Instagram, and they even don't have the Facebook account. So what would you say to them? Like they say that Facebook is dead and TikTok is a new king.
So there is truth to that. Obviously, like the gender, the age gap that is like on Facebook, it's getting a little bit older. So I'd say like the average user that uses Facebook actively is around like 40 to like 35, 30 plus maybe. And young people are moving to Instagram. But the thing is, like those young people are not usually the paying customers. Usually the paying customers are like 30 plus or something like that. So they're still on Facebook, and when I say Facebook, I mean Facebook and Instagram. Like some people split this like as 2 different platforms.
And it's Meta.
It's one. Yeah, exactly. It's Meta, and I think that people who have Facebook, are using Facebook. They're using like Instagram. Like they're maybe not using Facebook as actively. So I'm seeing those as like a one thing, and definitely like the age gap for Facebook is getting older, and at some point it's gonna be get as old so that like products for young people are not you won't be able to reach that custom audience there. But I still think it's definitely the best platform hands down.
Yeah, I totally agree, and at least from what I know, like TikTok is really another beast. Like you need a really huge creative machine to support the platform because creatives are really dying out very fast. They perform good for a few weeks or maybe a week maximum, and then they out. So you need constantly test a lot of creatives there, and not many like brands obviously can do that.
So like usually when a person asks me like TikTok is gonna change Facebook, etc. I ask them like, so how many friends or business owners that actually nail TikTok on a level that it's spending the same amount as Facebook? Like do you know any? Like personally, I work with a lot of brands, and usually the story goes like that. They scale Facebook to some extent, they hit like the ceiling, and they try to, instead of like nailing down on Facebook and like trying to improve the offer, maybe creatives work on that, they think that moving to another acquisition channel is going to somehow improve performance. And it makes sense, you can test on another platform. And what happens is they test TikTok and usually they fail and they're just like, okay, let's ditch it. And like very few brands actually nail TikTok down, but if you do nail it, it can be an exponential increase, you know, in acquisition.
Yeah, because like it's cheaper still like, compared to Facebook, like CPMs.
And you can scale much faster on TikTok.
Okay, guys, I'm gonna jump into this as well. So you talk a lot, really high terms, you know. And some of it I understand, some of it I think most of it, like people who do like work in depth in e-commerce and in technical journals, they really get it. But like you mentioned some really interesting facts. So you talked about Meta and Instagram, and then you compare it to TikTok, right? You, Marius, mentioned creatives and having a huge engine like creating creatives. What does it actually mean? It means what? Like you need to create like 10 those short videos. You need to start dance off, or what? How does that actually look in practice? Like, do you, you know, when you say a creative, what does that mean to you? You know, so.
Yeah. So actually, I was talking to chief growth officer of one huge agency about TikTok, and like. It's a numbers game, you know. A creative is basically an ad, you know, a short video or an image. For TikTok, of course, it's videos. But so let's say out of I don't know 100 tested ads, like maybe few will do well. So you can imagine what kind of numbers, and they will do well for 1, 2, 3 days, you know, a week or something. So you can imagine how much you have to, you know, cycle in those short videos there. So you have to have a team of I don't know, TikTok influencers who are filming it, and a team who is, you know, editing those videos and so on.
Okay, yeah, that's really cool. So a lot of people as well, when I speak, and a lot of brands when I speak, it's almost like, you know, when we talk about advertising, they go, oh, you know, Meta, like I normally say, so you know, the best channel to acquire is like Meta plus maybe Google PPC. Keep it kind of simple, you know, those channels work. But people go, yeah, you know, we want something new, like, you know, some sort of a new platform, thinking like that there's a hack, you know, like something that happened before, like with Meta maybe back in 2014 or like 12 or God knows when, you know, you can now achieve it in like TikTok and stuff like that. But what you're actually saying is that yes, possibly there is huge opportunity with TikTok, but you also need a very different kind of strategy around it. And you need a lot of content, you need to produce a lot of quickly, you need to produce that content, you need to test it, and then it only stays relevant for this short amount of time, right? So would you say that Meta is still the go-to channel for, cold traffic or interest spiking acquisition, and then TikTok is, you know, like something else completely? Maybe it's a different customer profile. How would you compare those?
Yeah, so I think also Deividas can also answer this, but in my opinion, of course, TikTok is a platform for more younger generation. So some type of products, especially that are dedicated to younger generation, can do very well there. But let's say if you're a brand doing Facebook ads and you are good on Facebook, you need to understand that TikTok is a whole another game, and you have to approach it differently. Like the content is different, the ads are different, right. You know, the communication is different. Right. So it means that you have to forget everything what worked in Facebook and just really test it out. And you need to prepare quite a not small budget for that, because it usually, you know, it takes time to learn it.
So for any new brands, I mean, guys, if somebody comes in and says like, look, we want to launch ad campaigns, we want to do Meta, but we also want to do TikTok, we also maybe want to try out, I don't know, Reddit and then some other platforms, would you suggest to give it a go on all of them? Or is it like better strategy to keep where you know what works, and then like sort of, you know, kind of a little bit more focused?
I'd say like start with Facebook 100%. Like it doesn't make sense. I'd say, you know, start with Facebook let's say let's take an instance of like you're testing a new product, new info product or whatever. So you test it out on Facebook, and if you see traction and it's working and you're profitable on Facebook, only then you can actually start investing into the product. And if it does start working, then you can introduce Google, and usually Google is like proportional to your Facebook spend. So it means if you're spending 1,000 a day on Facebook, then your Google spend is probably going to be like 100 a day. So Google is kind of limited because mostly it's like brand search. You can do cold search, keywords, but there's only so much you can do there. So those are like, I'd say, two platforms that go hand in hand, and then like other platforms like TikTok, Snapchat, Pinterest, Twitter, whatever, is something you like test when you hit like a certain scale. I'd say that would be like 5 million per month. Like 5 million per year in revenue. Only then you should like start thinking about it. But like honestly, I think you can like scale a brand, like e-commerce brand or an info product, to 25 million a year in revenue, like with Facebook ads only. Like you can totally do that. So I'd say double down on Facebook. It's all about the creatives, and then when you nail the Facebook down, you can repurpose your creatives on Facebook to TikTok and test it out, or you can like test all the creatives on TikTok and then test them on Facebook as well to kind of shoot two birds in one stone.
Okay. Yeah, I would add that I worked for one company. They were doing 20 million a year. And our task was to open new channels like TikTok, Pinterest, Snapchat, Twitter, whatever. We tried them, and it wasn't that easy actually, but they were still doing very fine, 20 million a year on Facebook. And they started to think that we have to move on to some other platforms as well.
I would just add that instead of like TikTok or anything, I just recently rediscovered like that TV ads can be like very successful. Like I have a friend who's like head of growth for which I just forgot the brand, but essentially it's pretty well, this brand is doing like I think 100 million a year. Who's like his brand is called Tupperware. It's like those boxes for food. Yeah. So basically he's like responsible for opening the branch in the UK specifically, and they started doing like TV ads, and like it exponentially increased their growth. So I mean that's a channel you could go. Like TikTok, I mean it's now becoming saturated. So I think there are other like native ads as well. Like you can scale with native ads.
Let's talk about traditional a little bit. Let's actually it would be quite interesting to step away from Meta and Google and then talk about traditional advertising channels. Is that something that everybody forgot? I keep on thinking that radio maybe is coming back. There's some products that actually was driving in the car and I bought it because it was a radio ad. It wasn't even an ad. It was like some sort of like a game or something like that. I don't remember what it was. But it was the first time after a really long time that I was like, I heard the ad. They kind of pitched me quite well. There was a good value proposition, and I bought it. TV, for example, traditionally was really expensive, channel to advertise, and only when you're an established brand. What do you think? Like, what kind of a revenue should you be doing, and when is it making sense already stepping into TV advertising?
It's difficult to say. Like, it can vary definitely. But as I mentioned, if we take that like benchmark that you can scale to 25 million a yearly revenue with only Facebook ads, so I'd say, you should only start thinking about it then. 25 million, I'd say, is like the line. It's a breaking line, which you hit at some point if you scale. That you have to start thinking about the brand. So then PR kicks in, which is like I suppose like part of TV could be part of PR. So when you hit that level, 25 million, then you should start thinking about branding, about TV, about maybe about awareness. I also have like other media buyer friends. So one guy in specific, he's working like in tier 11. And what you're doing for those really established big brands that are like in the market for 30, 40 years, they're just running brand awareness campaigns, and they're tracking all the possible attribution touch points on Google Analytics. They're not even like trying to, directly acquire a customer, because, you reach, in so many years, you can reach all the potential customers. So you need to like think of creative ways how to do it and then track it, attribute it.
Okay, let's talk now about Facebook secret strategies. So, yeah, because you mentioned that you can do up to 25 million a year only with Facebook. Like, you should really focus in the beginning on performance marketing. Yeah, you should measure your ROI and forget about all brand awareness and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So how would you test a new product on Facebook? What would be your strategy? How you would do it?
Yeah, so I can talk about it like with my fresh experience, because I'm currently testing my own funnel with my own money, which is a different beast, because when you're testing a product, working as a media buyer for someone, it's different. Like you don't value money as much as like instead when you're testing your own product, like you're just looking at every single buck you spend. So the best way to test this, so I'll take the broader view here. So let's say you launch a funnel, a sales funnel. So firstly what you need to do is like create an MVP. Like don't go nuts and creating like a fancy landing page. Create an MVP. Like what I figured out recently, and I was talking with I think one girl that was working with Mind Valley. She was responsible for product development. Like what she said is like product is all about copy. So like don't overcomplicate it, focus on the copy, focus on the fundamentals, which is like find a pain point, solve it, and present the solution and desired result that the person will get. So focus on that, and when you launch the funnel, so how do you test it on Facebook ads? So first of all, what you need to do is
one thing, like by saying MVP, what do you mean? It's most valuable,
minimum valuable product. Yeah. So what I mean is that you create a very basic funnel. Like you do some research, you see like what works in the market already. If there are no competitors in the market, what you do is like you find a very similar product in another niche. You just copy the layout. So let's say for me, the way I'm testing my info product currently is just like a sales page and checkout. That's it, like two-step funnel, like very simple. Because my goal in the first place is to find out if my product has traction, right? Like
product market fit.
Yeah, product market fit, like if it has traction, because sometimes like there might be a problem, but your solution might be bad. Maybe you need to change the angle or the copy. So first of all, I'm trying to see if there's like a traction here, So the way I launch it, like I do some research, and I just always research the brands that are doing very well in the market. So for example, like very big brands that have at least like 1,000 ads running in ad delivery. So I would just copy like their 4 best performing images. I wouldn't start with videos, doesn't make sense for me because it's additional cost. I would just start the images. You can do it in Canva. Like it's pretty easy. Like I did it myself, in those creatives. So I just take these concepts that work. I almost copy and paste them, change it to my copy, and launch it on Facebook. So how to actually structure it, to have the highest efficiency to test it on Facebook. So you do some research, and first of all, you want to test at least 3 interest audiences, so you launch 3 ad sets with those 4 ads, and then you launch like 3 different interests just to see which one will get the traction. So if your let's say your goal is like health or something, so you just like test 3 health, essentially.
How wide would you target, like in countries?
So I would always start with the US, because I noticed like a correlation. If you don't nail the US, the likelihood that you will scale worldwide is like minimal. You can get lucky, but US will still be your main country. Like all brands that are actually scaling, still they are dependent on the US. Like Europe is doing pretty well right now, but still the US is the key market. So always start testing in the US, and test interest with up to 15 million audience size, I'd say. If you can't find any like that, you define further. So let's say a big audience and define it further by another audience.
And this is of course for digital products. If you have physical products, and depends how you can ship it, and
it depends on the shipment, but I'd say the logic is still the same. Like when you're testing, obviously with the physical products, you might need to do some videos. So I would then like do maybe 2 videos and 2 images. But even then, like I would think about if it's worth it. I would look at what competitors are actually doing, and I would use the same approach. Like 3 interest, you run it, and then you see which one does better. And the goal in the beginning is to see like notice all those early signs that are there. So like you look at the CTR, so look at the link click prices, like other like is the link click price like below $1, is like CTR like above 4.
Is it possible to get in US below $1?
Yeah, I mean, like I get it. So it's pretty easy and possible, definitely. It depends on the market, obviously. The CPMs in some markets, like skincare, pet niche, is like insane. The CPMs are like $60, and it's very hard to get it. But in some niches, it's much easier.
They are one of the most popular ones because everyone is like doing that. Quite easy to understand the market, quite easy to sell, but from other side, competition is huge. And okay, so let's say now. I have started the brand. I have tested. It's doing quite good. I'm doing like up to 50K per month with Facebook ads only, but I failed to scale it higher. Like for some instance, I have the ceiling and I cannot scale. Every time I try to scale the budget, it's my ROAS drops. What would you suggest to do for me?
That's probably the situation that occurs the most often. So it's like always it's like a very complex thing. You have to look at the funnel metrics as well. So maybe there are some parts of the funnel that are bottlenecking. So you need to like fix them. But if we just look, if we assume that Facebook ads is the only problem, let's say the funnel is like perfect, it's converting pretty well, and the Facebook ad is the bottleneck. So first of all, I will start by identifying where is like what is bottlenecking. And usually I notice that it has to do something with like actual targeting and traffic quality, or maybe the expectations you create on Facebook, because sometimes you can get like insanely cheap clicks. You look at the ad account like, whoa man, I'm scaling, I'm successful. But what happens is maybe you're just clickbaiting these people, they dropped onto your funnel and they just bounce off because you create like an unrealistic expectation, or like the ad doesn't have anything to do with the actual landing page. So we have to identify. So usually it's the traffic quality or maybe targeting options. So I would start by with exclusions. Usually like if you look at the frequencies, the frequencies are quite high. It means that you're retargeting the same people quite often. So I would implement exclusions. Then I would start definitely like narrowing down the audiences. So like Facebook strategies that work actually change from time to time. Like what worked 6 months ago might not work right now, and I'm noticing it literally. So, but at this point, what I'm seeing, what works very well is like lookalikes and interests. So like go back to the basics. Like try and find those like there are not a lot of interest left, compared to like 1 year ago or 2 years ago, but you can still find those profitable pockets, especially when you're only doing like 50K a month. Find those profitable pockets, and try to capitalize on them. And also then focus on creative. I'd say that's also the only thing. And I'd say, media buying and creative is like 50-50, maybe creative even has more impact on that. So I'd say like diving deep into data and making conclusions is the most important part, to actually.
And what do you think? Is there like a chance that the product itself just don't scale higher? I mean, if I can imagine that there are products that you can just you reach the top at some level because only like some type of audience will purchase it. What do you think?
There is a possibility for that, for sure. But I love like the way Alex Ramosi actually phrased this, and people most likely and most often like they always throw this like phrase like, oh, we saturated the market. Like it's impossible to saturate the market. First of all, not all American, let's say, users in the United States are on Facebook. Let's start with that. So it means that you definitely can reach them. But if we only take the sample of Facebook users, it's still impossible to reach all of them. Like, you can look at the frequencies, you can look and count like the amount of impressions you do. It's impossible to reach all potential customers like really quickly. So I'd say I would definitely discard that. I definitely would look at the product, where the funnel is bottlenecking, where your ads are bottlenecking. So I think it's a huge misconception that people say to justify why it's failing.
Yeah. Okay. Everyone is talking about UGC. I think it's already like even when everyone is talking about it, you should avoid it. Starting to think like that. But what's your opinion? Like, what kind of creatives are working best for you at the moment?
So I'll be probably shocking some people, but like simple images work best. Like I know it's crazy, and a lot of people invest into like expensive UGC. It can work. Like I understand that in e-commerce, like physical products, it can be different. Like you need to test videos. But for example, like currently I have 2 fashion brands, and we are testing images, videos, etc. We're ordering UGC, and guess what works best? DPA carousels, actually.
Like to say carousels.
Carousels like that are dynamically optimized, like on Facebook, because like the thing is like a lot of people and a lot of brands like create this fancy UGC, maybe like even professional shoots, but like in this day and age, nobody cares like how fancy it is. The only thing that the person cares about is like what does it solve for me? What status does it give me? Like if I buy this dress, does it give me like a higher status in the society? Like I don't care if you pay like $1,000 to shoot this footage. Nobody cares. It's all about relating with the customer, and I feel that at this point UGC has been so saturated. It's not saturated yet. Like obviously there's room for innovation there, but I feel that it's becoming so saturated that people are starting to not trust UGC as much anymore. They understand that she was someone paid her to say that stuff.
And especially when you see the same face on like different ads, like promoting different products.
Exactly. Yeah, I remember like we when I was working one digital brand, we ordered like one influencer's girls video, and it was doing pretty well, and then we turned it off, and like 3 months later I see our direct competitor with the same girl with the same ad. I'm like, damn. That's crazy, because like you can use those platforms like Billo, Influee, and those people are just like recycling for content. So I say if you're doing UGC, go for as native as possible. So the best idea to actually is to go on Upwork and contact content producers directly and talk with them, create a relationship, or hire people that are actually creating content that is relevant to your audience. So like you do some research, you go on TikTok and you look for influencers that are actually creating content, and then contact them directly so that they could create content organically, and then you can repurpose it. Because paid UGC, I don't know, like it can work, but as I mentioned, DPA carousels work better. Simple images work better. So I'm starting to think that.
Yeah, I would say also you have to just use common sense. UGC is it will always probably do well for skincare or some cosmetics product, because people show off how they apply, how they say, this help for my skin. But if it's some apparel, dress or shoes or whatever, you don't need really UGC for that. People understand this is the dress. They just need a good picture to attract them, to show the style and everything, and they can decide if they want it or not. It's like,
one thing that I wanted to ask, wouldn't it actually be, because I would imagine that, for example, easily carousel could be a very good converting ad. But doesn't it work as a funnel? Wouldn't it be like that maybe you kind of need to first create, say, a little bit more of a top of the funnel? So like with UGC, you can show off the brand, you can raise awareness, and it's much more fun to watch actually. If you make it fun, if you make it good, and then maybe you can move down the line, and then once the customer is in that stage where he goes like, maybe I want to buy, maybe I don't want to buy, that's when the carousel performs best. Because if you look into some of the fashion or clothing brands, like that's how normally like they get me, because I might be thinking, I need shoes, and then I might have a look at some of these ads that go through and then show off something. But then eventually when I'm kind of in the stage when I go, actually yes, now I need to buy it, then the carousel always works the best because you can quickly scroll through the products, have a look at it, click it, land on the product page, and then you're suddenly you're choosing already, you're making a decision which ones to buy. So maybe that's as well. There is some of that. So I guess it probably works for everyone. Cool. One thing that we move away from. So if you would have to leave our team or audience, people who's actually listening, always ask for some recommendations. You've shared so many knowledge on media buying and how to test creatives and how to do it. I think I'm pretty sure that people who's going to be listening, if they're really looking for that, it's going to be super valuable content to listen to. But do you have any recommendations for any books that you've been reading recently, or what's your I don't know, do you read books? Do you listen to audiobooks? Do you not read the books? What's your take?
Yeah, so recently, I have a lot of books at home. Probably most people do. You buy a book because I don't know, it's like some type of fetish of mine. You just go to a bookstore and I'm like, oh, this one nice, smells nice. Yeah. And but what I did, I actually just recently bought a Kindle, and then it re-sparked my interest in actually reading because it's much more easier, just kind of flip pages like that. It was a game changer for me. And I'd say the best books that I've read recently were Alex Hormozi's both books. It's 100 million leads and 100 million offers. So this one, it's like he's explaining fundamentals, but the way he is simplifying and dumbing it down, it's insane for me. And personally, I'm aspiring to hit that level where I would be able to transfuse the information so smoothly and so simply, so that people would be able to understand. So I would recommend Alex Hormozi's books, and also I love the Diary of a CEO book. So there's actually a podcast of that he's doing, but his book is also pretty decent. So those were the recent I read.
So I'm horrible at reading books. I would love to be able to do that, but my book reading, I don't know, it's very difficult for me to sit down actually with a book. So what I do, I tend to listen to audiobooks, and I'm listening now to Predictable Revenue. That's a really old actually. It's quite older, but it's Alan something. Yeah. And he talks about how he generated leads for 100 million revenue for Salesforce. And it's quite interesting because I think it was really relevant back in the days when it was released, and now it's kind of again relevant because it talks about simple concepts of don't try to sell, prospect, build relationships and stuff like that, which actually transfers the thing from sales into marketing now, and then in the marketing, you can also do the same thing with the brand.
Exactly.
Cool. One more interesting, question would be, so, a lot of people I'm pretty sure are going to be interested in maybe to chat with you and, exchange some ideas, and then, some of them are probably going to be running a brand. I want to talk with them. What's the best place people can connect with you or reach you? Do you respond to people's messages? What's your take on that?
Yeah, so I just recently started creating content on LinkedIn, so that's definitely the best place to reach out to me. I'm planning to release a newsletter, which will be specifically about direct-to-consumer marketing, and I'll be giving a freebie for people that sign up in the first week. It's going to be about I'll be showing the best Facebook ad scaling strategies there, like manual bidding, new scaling strategy, etc. So yeah, definitely reach out to me on LinkedIn, Deividas Tokaris. I guess you can leave a link for people. So yeah.
Love it. I'm already in the queue waiting for that freebie for Facebook strategy. Well, Deividas, it was really lovely to have you here today. A lot of information, a lot of valuable info. I'm pretty sure that you have fundamentally probably thousands more great tips and recommendations. Guys, follow Deividas for more great insights. Thank you very much for attending today, for having time to speak with us. Great to have you. For everyone who's actually listening to us, it doesn't really cost you anything, but it means a lot to us. So please share, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Give a shout out to me or Marius if you have any questions about your e-commerce, you have any challenges with your e-commerce brand. I will happy to jump on a quick call, share some as well experience.
And I would like to add, if you have some questions, would you like to make a podcast about, So just leave a comment, tell us what you want to hear in this podcast, and yeah, it will help us to create more content. So thank you.
Thank you very much, guys, and we'll see you on the next episode, on the next secrets of e-commerce. So follow us when we unravel that. Thanks, guys.
Bye bye.
Peace out.